Okay. Okay, so for example, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, actually the ahankara is not mentioned in this verse. It's presented simply, but we know it is also there, that it is discussed in other places in Bhagavad-Gita and Bhagavatam. But one example that I recall, so Srila Sridhar Maharaj discusses this verse quite extensively in in different places. And one of the analogies that he gives, it's quite helpful. He says, if someone, I think he mentioned specifically an elephant, like if a very, loud and large elephant's coming by, if our mind is somewhere else, we won't even notice it, that our senses may be picking it up, but the mind, because the senses are just like these instruments that are interacting with the gross, and the senses are our first contact, direct contact with the gross physical world, and they're like collecting information. The eyes collecting information of sight, the ears of sound, the nose of smell, the sense of smell, picking up fragrances, and so on and so forth. However, the mind is where all that information gets registered. And if the mind is absent, if the mind is absorbed in something else, then you won't really absorb that information. That information won't register. It's an interesting thing. Like sometimes you may experience say like especially in our modern age, right? All these different devices that we use. Say you're texting on one phone and you've got someone on your ear on another phone, right? Or something like that. Then, the person who's trying to, someone may be telling you this long story, but you're so absorbed in the texting that you're not really picking up the information, right? Or someone may be telling us something, but our mind is somewhere else. Then we're not. Sometimes we even experience that we have delayed reactions, right? Or delayed pain, right? We may even we may burn ourselves in the kitchen, but our mind is so absorbed in something else that we're not really registering that.
Your voice, or we don't have your voice.
What did you say?
It's Zoom.
It's on a Zoom.
It's a Zoom meeting. Yeah, I mean, you can pick up, the mic hasn't been, someone needs to work out the mic. We haven't been able to turn it on the last few nights.
How is it?
I don't know what but no, the program hasn't started yet. But this is a Bhagavad Gita Zoom.
Oh, I see.
And then, but you can, anyway, Bhagavad Gita. Then right after this, we'll go straight into the program. All right. So today I forgot to mention, today's a very welcome to James. I think this is your first time with us. And also Nicole, welcome. And Nadi Krishna Prabhu has also joined us from Mexico. So before, just as a pause, today is a very special day for us. We're honoring the anniversary of the day of departure of the founder of our mission, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Deva Goswami. He's actually pictured here on the wall, the mid-person here in the middle. So today we're beginning very soon a program here in our ashram in his honor. Yeah, I'll stop with that. What was I saying? Can't remember now.
The senses and how you can be detached from them.
Right. How if our mind is in another place, then the information of the senses won't be received by us, won't be absorbed, won't register with us. So if we, Srila Sridhar Maharaj also points out, if we just sit quietly with ourselves, we can see all these different plays. What is the play of the mind? What is the play of the senses? What is the plane of the intelligence, the discriminating faculty, the analyzing faculty within me? And then most subtly, the ahankar, the false ego. And the ahankar, the false ego, it's the most subtle of our material existence. It's the most difficult. It's very, very closely bound up. with our existence at present. And it's so it's difficult to perceive it because it's so subtle. But it's an energy which causes us to identify with our particular circumstances or particular set of interests, right? Like, let's say somebody does something against our interest, right? What is it that causes us to identify with a particular set of interests, whether they're, financial, political, social, family, amongst family, friends, like what causes us to identify with a particular body, with particular environment, with some particular set of interests? It's this ahankar, it's this false ego. When we know, according to scripture, that as we are in one body in this life, so we were in a different body, could have been a different species in our previous life and in our next life. So what is it that makes us identify with this particular current experience? Like this video, like in a video game, right? You play different roles and you experience different environments, or now virtual reality is taking off, VR. You can like change your avatar, right? Change your persona, experience different environments. So what is it that causes us to identify with one particular, set of experiences, one particular reality? It is this ahankar, this false ego. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he explains in a very helpful way how he says that the separating layers, they are like, because these are like layers, right? The layer of the soul, like you can think of peeling an onion, right? There's the innermost core of the soul, the Atma, and then covering that, Avritam, these coverings are there of the ahankar, the false ego, the intellect, the buddhi, the mind, and the senses, right? And so as you, I've lost my train of thought. Sorry, there's a lot going on. We're getting ready for the festival here. It's a bit busy.
The coverings,
yeah.
layers.
So the separating layers, Srila Sridhar Maharaj explains, they are so tightly bound together that you cannot perceive the separation. Just like if we use that analogy of an onion, it just, when you look at it first, it just looks like one entity, right? But if you peel it, they say, oh, it's actually made up of so many layers, So in the same way, at present, these different layers of our existence, they're so tightly bound up together, we cannot perceive the separating points. But as purification starts to take place, then the distinction between these different layers will start to become more and more clear. And we'll see, there's just this whole play going on the surface of my consciousness. It's nothing to do with who I am. So we've been discussing this verse for a few weeks now, but it's so relevant. It's just described so well, where we are, and it's so helpful to review, these topics. So I'll stop there. We do want to move on. But if anyone else wants to share anything, that would be nice. Be nice to hear from others. Anything Bhagavad-Gita related. Otherwise, we can continue. So we've reached chapter 4. Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge. Previous chapter was Karma Yoga, the path of action. Okay, then if no one has any comments or questions, we can continue. So beginning with chapter 4. Om Jnana Timirandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militanjena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavanaham Avyayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manarikshvaka Vebravit Evam Parampara Praptam Imam Vajashayo Vidu Sakyale Neha Mahata Yogo Nashta Parantapa Saivayam Mayatidya Yoga Prokta Puratanaha Bhakta Sime Sakachiti Rahasyam Yetaruttamam Arjuna Uvacha Aparam Bhavato Janma Param Janma Vivasataha Katameta Vijaniyam Tvamado Proktavaniti Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bahuni Me Vyatitani Janmani Tavacharjuna Tanyaham Veda Sarvani Natvam Veta Parantapa Ajopi Sannavyayatma Bhutanami Swaropi San Prakritim Swamadhishtaya Sambhavam Yatma Mayaya. And for those who are joining for the first time, we do have a PDF. Could somebody share a link? No, Chintamani is taking care of it. So if you would like to follow the text. So we just chanted the first 6 verses of chapter 4. We'll look at the translation. So just as a review, in the progression of Bhagavad, there is a progression. There are 2 paths of development described in Bhagavad Gita. There's what our gurus would call sometimes, there's like the constitutional or the constitutional line or standard line of evolution. And then there's also the revolutionary path. Right? So there's a step-by-step progression, beginning with knowledge of the soul, then teachings of karma yoga, selfless action are described, and then teachings of jnana yoga, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, and then also teachings of ashtanga yoga are described, meditation, culminating in samadhi, full spiritual trance, absorption in the divinity. And then teachings of bhakti yoga, connecting with the divinity through the medium of heart, devotion, love. So there's the standard line of progression that's described, but then there's also like a shortcut, which bypasses these other steps of progress, which is just going straight to the line of bhakti. Here's our friend, Dr. Mark Chintamani's here. Gosh, you're limping. It's quite bad. Oh dear. He went for a jog up we have this hill here on the property. He went for a jog like 3 a.m. or some crazy hour. Oh, maybe it was the dancing. It was the dancing maybe. He's limping now. Or you can go directly to Sarvadar in chapter 18, verse 66. Everyone knows this verse. Sarvadharmam parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja. Chintamani, you say the verse. Please, you say the verse. Come on.
I don't actually know it.
I saw you. Mouth sinking.
Just the first part.
Okay, we'll say the first part.
And now I'm brain farting because I'm embarrassed on camera. Didi, don't do this to me. Krishna.
Okay, somebody else.
Another verse.
I know you
I
know.
vote for Jaidev.
Krishna Shine knows it, but he's been a devotee since 1980 something.
1974.
1974, sorry. So that'll be cheating. I don't want to hear. Somebody else tell us the most famous verse of Bhagavad Gita.
Okay, I'll try.
Well, I know Chinmoy knows it. Chintamani, you, please.
Okay. Sarvadharman parityaja mamikam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha yashyami ma shuchaha.
Very good. Excellent. And I know Jayadev knows it too. Okay, so this is the famous verse. Oh, what is the translation? Tell us the translation.
I like Jaidev's translations.
Okay, you've been nominated.
I don't even know if I have one. I mean, other than abandon all relative forms of right and wrong or codes of religions or worldviews or codes of existence, and simply surrender unto me, with that added part in Vraj, encoded in there, in Vrindavan, which he goes into in here.
Mm.
And then the second part, I don't know this, I don't have it memorized. I knew there was a Papeb hill, and I knew there was a Shuchaha, but I didn't know the second part. But I'm guessing I'm trying to remember something like, I will deliver you.
Have no fear.
Have no fear, is that what it is? No, is it?
He says, don't worry about any bad consequences that may arise as a result of you giving up your ordinary worldly duties. No, I will take care of that. Do not fear, like that. No, you are coming to join the central cause. So if there are any negative reactions to you leaving behind secondary causes, don't worry, I will cover you. I've got your back. That's what he's saying. I've got your back. You're covered. You're covered. That's essentially what he's saying. Don't be worried that, oh, if I leave this behind, if I leave that behind, then this will happen, that will happen. You've made many lower promises, but this is a higher promise. No, this is a higher promise. So this is like the revolutionary path. Just come directly to me, Krishna is saying. Don't worry about all these other convoluted paths. No. But if you are ready to accept a simple heart connection with me, but the catch is that we have to give up all forms of selfishness. That is the catch. There's no room for any tinge of selfishness. There has to be the spirit of full self-surrender. And if we fully surrender to Krishna, he will also surrender to us. He will also surrender, give his heart to that soul. But it takes some courage. It takes some brave heart, to make such a step, to make such a move. And another thing, one helpful way in which Srila Maharaj has explained this verse is that it doesn't necessarily mean like physically giving up our present duties in the world, but to give up our vested interest, to give up our self-centered interest within those activities. So the whole course of movement may remain the same, but instead of thinking, oh, this is my house, this is my family, these are my children, we will think, this is Krishna's house, I'm taking care of Krishna's house. These are Krishna's children. Welcome, Mahalakshmi from Brazil, Dandavat. These are Krishna's children. I'm taking care. This is Krishna's, wife, husband, man, woman. None of this is my property. This money does not belong to me. Nothing belongs to me. I'm serving these things. My spouse is a servant of Krishna. My children are servants of Krishna. I'm serving them, and that's taking care of them in that spirit. So the consciousness will change, but whether or not the external situation will change, that will depend upon the individual case. What is appropriate and what is the most progressive in the line of surrender? That will depend case by case. So anyway, in the progression of Bhagavad Gita, we've reached the teachings of Jnana Yoga, called the connecting with the divinity, by cultivating spiritual knowledge, cultivating deeper understanding of the nature of spirit. And so in this line of progression, also I'd like to add, and although I did mention it in earlier meetings, that what's very beautiful about this progression is that each stage naturally automatically qualifies one for the next. So in this case, following karma yoga, or more specifically, nishkam karma yoga, means the path of selfless action. Even if one does that without any ideology, without any conception, just trying to live their life in a spirit of selfless duty, it will be a naturally purifying there will be a natural purifying process that takes place. And if one lives in that spirit of selflessness, automatically will become more purified. And the weight of mundanity, the weight of the material energy will be lessened upon us. And we will begin to feel more and more that lighter, more spiritual, lighter spiritual element within ourselves, that soul element. We'll automatically begin to feel that more within ourselves, and we'll become qualified for more serious spiritual knowledge and practice. So without further ado, then we can, oh yeah, so we did chant these first 6 verses. Now the translation we didn't read yet. The Supreme Lord said, I imparted this imperishable yoga of knowledge achieved by selfless action to Surya. But wait, I'll mention here, this is also one of the special points about the practice of bhakti devotion. There's no prerequisite, because these other practices described in the Vedas, there's some prerequisite involved. Like you need to reach a certain standard before you can become follow real yoga practices or be accepted into receiving spiritual knowledge. There's some previous qualification that's required before you can enter into that. But in the path of bhakti is so all-inclusive. It's such a direct and simple process that the lowest person to the highest person, they all have an entry point. They're all welcome. And from wherever you are, you can begin to offer whatever it is. You can offer your chocolate, you can, offer your, whatever it is, offer your food, offer your house, whatever it is, turn everything into an offering. Whatever it may be, as you're working at your job, you can think of it as an offering. So it's a very, even if you don't know what it is you're doing, you're still gaining some spiritual benefit because you're connecting with some real divine current. You're connecting with the heart of divinity. So just like a child, right? They may hand us something, may not know exactly what the significance is. It may not even be very helpful, right? But they're offering with some affectionate mood. And that touches our heart, right? So that's what Bhakti Yoga is about. We're trying to touch the heart of divinity. We're trying to touch the heart of Krishna. So it doesn't matter whether you know everything or know nothing. That's something that everyone has the opportunity to try for. And of course, as we develop and mature in devotion, then the relationship will become deeper and knowledge will naturally develop. How can we please our guardians more? In what way? What is the nature of my true self? These are all things that will happen naturally. But the essence of it all is developing that connection of love, of heart. And that's something that is possible for anyone and everyone. So there's no requirement for special physical capacity or mental capacity, nothing, just a heart. All you need is a heart. Bring your heart. Sometimes they'll have yoga classes and they'll say, bring your yoga mats, right? So at our temples, we can put a sign, bring your hearts, nothing else is okay. You don't need to bring money. You need to bring yoga mats. You don't have to bring anything. Just bring your heart. That's all we want. That's all. Wear some clothes, that would be helpful. But otherwise, nothing is required. Although we are in California, things are a little different here. Okay. Verse 1. The Supreme Lord said, I imparted this imperishable yoga of knowledge achieved by selfless action to Surya, the presiding deity of the sun. Surya taught it to his son Vaivasvata Manu, who passed it on to his son Ikshvaku. So in the Vedic conception, everywhere is personality, and there's a presiding deity over everything, and here the deity of the sun, the personified form of the sun is mentioned And Krishna is saying that he passed on this knowledge to Surya Dev, who passed it on to his son. O conqueror of the enemy, thus the saintly kings such as Nimi, Janaka, and others learned this yoga, which was passed down to them by disciplic succession. But in the course of time, this teaching has been lost. So this is a significant point, you know, that this is the nature of this material plane. There's always this degrading influence, and it's always under the influence of the energy of time, right? And so everything in this world, it begins, bright, vibrant, youthful, beautiful, right? But eventually, over time, it will degrade, right? It is the nature. That's the word Srila Sridhar uses. It's the enervating plane, where everything's being dragged down. That's the nature of this plane. And so this is also an issue when it comes to transmission of spiritual knowledge. That the original revelation will be perfect, will be bright, will be pure. But by the degrading influence of the material environment, over time, it will become contaminated, it will become diluted. And so there's this constant need for fresh revelation, for a fresh download, so that the truth can again be reestablished in its pristine glory, purity. So this is a constant issue. As you are my devotee and friend, so Krishna is speaking to his beloved friend Arjuna, and welcome to Dana, who's also joined us. As you are my devotee and friend, I now reveal to you the supreme secret, the eternal yoga. Arjuna said, Vivishwan, the sun god, and we were mentioning last week actually how Arjuna, like sometimes he functions as a kind of a prop. I'm trying to remember. There's like a proper literary term. Literary device, there's some proper literary, maybe marine. No, not devil's advocate, exactly.
Foil?
What?
Foil, perhaps?
Foil, I don't think that's exactly the right word.
That's not exactly the word I wanted, but it's closer. Yeah.
But yeah, but he's like voicing what we may ask. I'm finishing up a Bhagavad-Gita Zoom. So we haven't started, but there's some problem with the microphone. I don't know if anyone was able to fix it.
That's where I come.
Yeah, where's our tech person? Who's our tech person?
I don't know.
Because the last couple of nights we haven't been able to turn it
the
on.
microphone? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I find somebody.
Okay, I think Dea is good.
Okay,
I don't know if she's around.
Definitely not Brenda.
Definitely not Vishaka.
My J capacity is right here, but yes.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, she's right here.
Wow.
Can you help us with the mic?
And here she
Thank you.
appears. What a wonderful, magical thing.
We have Kalpa rickshaws around here. You
Yes,
just say what you
exactly.
need and it
Exactly.
appears.
Also not Brenda. Coincidentally, also not Brenda the Kalpa Ritual.
You are. Okay. Oh yeah. So Arjuna, he's voicing what other people may be asking, right? Arjuna, what is the word? Okay, I'm going to make this my homework for next week. So there's a literary term for this. When you have someone there, like it's just kind of functioning as a device in the plot. But of course, that's in fiction. This isn't fiction, but it is part of the Lord's play, which is designed. There is an element of it being the setup. So Arjuna,
like an avatar.
No, that's not.
Because you said something very interesting. What really kind of moved my mind. You used the word prop, but you also said that that's not right, but you used it anyway. And for me, at first I was like, oh, that's weird, but then it started to make sense.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a more respectful word to use. But yeah, so Arjuna's, he's actually an enlightened being He's an eternal associate companion of Krishna. He knows everything. But for our sake, he's asking questions that he doesn't need to ask. For our sake, he's showing this mood of bewilderment and questioning. Dane is having more suggestions thrown in here. No, maybe proxies, but there's another term I'm thinking of. But anyway, it's okay. Everyone gets the idea. That's the point, right? We won't get stuck on the language. The purpose of language is to convey meaning. So as long as the meaning's getting across, then. So Arjuna, he doesn't Arjuna doesn't need to ask anything, but he's asking for our sake. And he's also, I would go so far as to say, he's also like absorbed in this play. He's also under the influence of the Lord's spiritual energy, Yoga Maya. And he's very absorbed in this role in the moment. So here in this question, Arjuna is asking what some common reader might ask when they're reading this text. So Arjuna says, well, hang on a minute. Vivashvan, the sun god, was born in ancient times, long before you were. Therefore, how am I to consider that you previously gave these teachings to him, right? Because in the immediate context, Krishna is Arjuna's friend. And Krishna is appearing in this human-like form. So, and a human has a lifespan, right? This is all like a play of Krishna. So Arjuna is asking, like somebody might ask, how is it you're saying that you passed this knowledge on to the sun god at the beginning of time? How is such a thing? How am I to believe this? Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so when we read up to verse 6, we'll read up to that translation. The Supreme Lord said, "O chastiser of the enemy, both you and I have passed through many births. I can remember all of them, whereas you, O Arjuna, cannot." And our Gurudev, I heard him once kind of joking about this expression here of Krishna saying like, and that's good for you, Arjuna. Like better that you don't remember your previous lives. Sorry, 1 second. I'm trying to, there's something I want to share with you. Let me see if I think I found it here. Okay. That's that. Yeah, so Gurudev, I've never understood this obsession that some people have to know about their previous lives, because it could get a little scary, that could get a little dark, dealing with like the trauma of human existence and the current life that we're going through. That's already a lot to deal with, but to go into the details of our previous lives, that could backfire. It could backfire. So
it could be quite embarrassing.
Yeah, embarrassing at best. Embarrassing at best, absolutely devastating, at worst, worst. We don't know. It's like a can of worms you don't want to open. Yeah, as Marie says, one life, it's enough to deal with. So yeah, so Krishna's saying, so our Gurudev, he like kind of chuckled about this. It's better that you don't remember. You don't want to remember all of that. Although my eternal form is transcendental to birth and death, and I am the Lord of all beings, I appear within the world in my divine nature by my sweet will, extending my internal potency. So I'm appearing here like an ordinary person, but I am actually of a divine nature. And my appearance as an ordinary human being, this is just something on the surface. This is a superficial view of who I am. But I am a fully divine, eternal nature. And it's interesting, our Gurudev mentioned that Like when Krishna, because Krishna we're told in the scripture that, and we're hearing in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself was directly on this earth. But then somebody might ask, well, hang on, does that mean that everybody could really see him, like in the truest sense? And our Guru, somebody asked our Gurudev that, and he said that generally people they would see, of course they would see some form, but they wouldn't, unless you have that spiritual vision, you wouldn't be able to see that original spiritual form of the Lord. So he used this phrase, I believe it was Maya Krishna, like some illusory form of Krishna. That's generally what people would see. And only someone who has received that grace, that higher grace, they would be able to perceive that original spiritual form. Okay, let's see. And now these next 3 verses are quite famous. Actually, these next like 5 verses are all quite famous. But in particular, these next 2 are very famous throughout India. Like every good Hindu knows these verses by heart. They're very famous verses, 7 and 8 of chapter 4. And I actually want to share a little YouTube clip with you. It's one famous Mahabharata production that was made in the 80s, and it's really beautifully made, and they consulted with ISKCON and they used some images that Prabhupada published, but they chant these verses. So just kind of to bring it all, the culture to life for you, I'd like to share this clip. But first we'll read them ourselves. Okay, so verse 7, picking up from verse 7. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bharata abhyutanama dharmasya tadatmanam shajamyaham paritranaya sadunam vinashaya chadushkritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tatvata chaktva deham punarjanma Naiti mameti sarjuna vitaraga boyakroda manmaya mamupashitaha bahavo jnana tapasa uttamad bhavamagata ye yatamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha. O Bharata, another name for Arjuna, whenever there is a decline of religion and an uprising of irreligion, I personally make my advent. I appear age after age to deliver the saintly devotees, vanquish the miscreants, and firmly establish true religion. O Arjuna, one who comes to know thus the truth of my pastimes of divine birth and activities does not undergo rebirth. After giving up this body, he attains me. My grace is revealed to him as my personal, transcendental, joyful potency, Hladini Shakti. His heart is melted in divine love, and he attains my eternal devotional service. Free from attachment, fear, and anger, many persons have taken shelter in me, absorbing their hearts in my services, hearing, chanting, and remembering. Purified by knowledge and the fire of ordeal in my service, they attain to divine love for me. Howsoever people surrender to me, I accordingly reward them. Being the ultimate goal of all paths, I am the objective to be attained by all. O Partha, all men follow my various paths. So these are all what we've just been through. These are all very well-known and important verses of Bhagavad Gita, and there's a lot to unpack here, which I think we can save for next week. Okay, well, I'm going to end a little early because we are about to start a program here for our divine masters, Srila Bhakti-Daksha Sridhar Goswami's departure. It's been a really wonderful meeting, as always. Oh, and here's also Krishna Shai Prabhu, who we were mentioning, joined when he was 14, was it 1974?
Oh, 15.
15 years old, he joined in 1974. Pretty amazing. And he's very familiar with all the teachings, as he was part of the first group in San Jose in the early 80s when they were making all these books of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And he's got lots of stories.
1983.
1988. Very sweetheart. Very sweetheart. It's like the friendly giant. Okay, any last words from anyone before we close for today? Should we end there? Thank you all for your good company. Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Gundadev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Daksha Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Tadiya Tiro Bhav Mahamahotsav Titi ki Jai, all the assembled devotees and sincere seekers ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Jai Gaur Premanande. People, see you all next time.
Thank you.